One of the biggest problems students have when trying to graph scientific data is what bar or type of graph to use. So there's two types of graphs we usually talk about in science. There's the bar graph and there's a line graph. Easy way for this class to determine when each is going to be used is a bar graph is going to be used when you're comparing data, right? So you can be comparing two sets of data, three sets, four sets, all the way up to how many ever. A line graph is when data involves change over time. I always remember time and line kind of write them together, so it doesn't have to say time. It could be days, seconds, months, years, any unit of time. All right, so a few examples of this would be so an easy example of this is looking at this graph, right? So in this situation, you have three categories. You have time after eating, and then you have glucose level in milliliters per liter blood in person A, and then person B. These labels are not really important. Don't gotta worry about that. So your first question whenever you're graphing is what type of graph? I see that, hey, I'm using hours here, right? I'm using change over a specific time frame. That's going to be a line graph. Actually, you'd have two lines here. You'd have one line for person A and then one line for person B. If you look at this one, I have two data sets. I'm measuring the number of bacteria and I'm measuring the number of days, right? So there, right there, that's your key phrase. Days is a form of time. You'd be using a line graph in this situation. Last but not least, if you look at this data set, again, we don't need to know anything about the background on this type of experiment. I'm looking at type of freshwater and the number of tadpoles, right? So I'm measuring the number of tadpoles and I'm looking at what type of water it was. So in this situation, we are not using any form of time. We are simply comparing what type of water yields the most number of tadpoles, right? So you're comparing this distilled water, acidic water, basic water, which one has the most number of tadpoles. So in this one, you'd use a bar graph.